my name's Kelly Janae. This is Bug. Welcome to Ethereal Ecology Healing Arts. I'm an energy worker, a holistic mental health care specialist, and at times a channeler, which is what we're going to be talking about in this video today. A little tidbit of advice from the nether realms of the ether from a guide that came through during a session today. Sometimes I like to channel during a session when it's like, what do we do today? I don't know. There's not really anything present, but we're still trying to solve an issue that we don't have answers for. That's continuing to pervade our life. When we're at that point, it can help to tune in to some guides, some guidance from more conscious, evolved places. And this is something that we can all do with practice. During this particular session, we tuned in, and what came through was this guide that was red, like a red monkey. And the red monkey is actually not just a monkey, it's like a very wise guru. And that's all just coming through, a lot of the ways that I sense this is through claircognizance, like I just know it. There's like telepathic communication going on, I sense it, I feel it, I hear it, all the things. So I'm sensing this red monkey guru coming through, and just so you know, the symbology of guides and the way that they come through in their form and their structure and their frequency cannot be understated. It's all very deliberate and intentional in terms of how they're expressing what they're there to do. So this particular being is obviously very connected to nature. They're flowing. They were out by the creek, kind of how they came in. And they're also very, very wise. And the red color is going to come into play as well. Our goal with this channeling session was to get some more higher guidance, some more expanded guidance about the spiritual reasons behind certain health challenges that my client is facing. And we can't really pin down why those health challenges are happening. They've tried a lot of different things, but they are feeling called to the more spiritual aspects of the healing work. We asked about this, and essentially what the guide showed me was that the reason why this health issue is coming up, and everybody has unique responses to stress, which is something that the guide mentioned, this is their response to the fact that they are on the cusp of a very important transformational crisis. And by transformational crisis, I essentially mean those points in your life where you're oh my God, where you're changing, it's like your Saturn return, your second Saturn return, and Uranus oppositions, you go into the astrology with it, you find a bunch of crises, life crises. And these crises are normal. They're actually part of living a life. They're part of living a conscious life. Oh my God! There's a dog that tries to literally comes into our house. So that's happening. So we all go through life crises of transformation, and these are places where we know that we need to shift, we know that we need to change. We're trying to create something new for ourselves, but we can't seem to do it. We don't know how, or, things are blocking us, or we're stuck and stuff like that. So that would be like a crisis happening, but it's happening from within you. It's part of the process of evolution in our lives, and we can engage with it consciously, or we can allow it to knock us on our asses and give us health problems, or we can do some combination of the two because we are only human, okay? However, that's what's happening for my client. So it's like, oh, I'm having this health issue because there's like a lot of pent up unconscious material just coming up from within me that need to work themselves through. And so we're asking like, well, okay, how can we work through that? What's the path? And what's really interesting that came through was this insight that, yes, in order to go through that block, so to speak, that plane of existence that you're attempting to transcend into kind of a new reality, you need to emphasize the love that you have in your life. You need to emphasize this particular frequency of love. And the particular frequency that came through is a very specific frequency of love. When I feel frequencies and sense into like different, basically dimensions, they have different colors, experiences in my body, and completely different shifts in the energy field. What this particular frequency was a really strong frequency of like deep red, the same color as the guide, that was love, but a very masculine love and an extremely powerful love. Like a love that if you let into your body, nobody could hurt you. Like that level of love from the divine, you know? And so that is really what he was saying, like emphasize that, like tune into that. And you know, I'm like, well, can you feel that? Like my client, does that make sense? Like, well, I feel that when I'm with nature. I feel that when I'm alone in nature. I'm like, okay, well, emphasize it. You know, make a point of playing in that space more often and being intentional about feeling that feeling. Because that feeling is not just a feeling, it's a vibration. And that vibration, if you feel it enough, starts to awaken new ways of being in your body field. And all of these dimensions are always around us all the time. But as humans, we do struggle to stay in a frequency of love, a frequency of peace, because we're working through, you know, denser energies. So we're not going to be able to just hold that all the time unless our literally whole life is just being a meditator, which isn't practical for most of us. But we don't have to be perfect. All we need to do is practice. So really fascinating, this idea that when we're going through a life crisis, you know, like a transformational crisis, which happens all the time, honestly, like the whole life is just a whole existential crisis, and the whole reason is because it's a like small amount of time we have to do a lot of inner work and like discover who we are and like grow into ourselves, not only as like a better human, but getting closer to a cosmic goal of who we want to become as a being. What I find fascinating is this idea that we can practice through frequency being that which we are becoming. And we do actually do this all the time naturally. Like it's something that happens whether we're aware of it or not through the challenges that we're gifted with in life. We have to change, we have to grow, and if we don't, we struggle. And we might struggle anyway. It's beautiful that there's actually these spaces in space and time that we can occupy with our field, with our mind, with our hearts, that are inherently healing. I found this to be really profound. I loved the way that this guide, you know, showed the visuals of this growth edge and how that kind of shows up in a cosmic, maybe quantum mathematical way in the universe as our souls are traversing our lives. And is there anything else I want to share about this? I mean, ultimately, yes, there's always deeper reasons why. Always. And those deeper reasons, once we start to get to the bottom of them, it just resonates. It just resonates. It just feels true. It feels right. And it gives credence to the intensity of our experience. And it gives credence to, you know, our deeper emotional places within where we might be really struggling or feeling despairing or hopeless or even hopeful. I mean, like, why would we have all of this depth of emotion if it wasn't for some bigger purpose? I don't know. But I'm hoping that with this awareness, you know, my client can take this back, journal with it, sit with it, and also connect more deeply with the resources that are available, which are our guides and these higher spaces that we can choose to be in. We can choose. Anyway, my name's Kelly Janae again. If you're a black sheep or a misfit and a weirdo just like me, you're on a spiritual journey, you kind of struggle with emotional dysregulation, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, wanting to jump off a cliff because life is like, why so hard? And maybe you're lonely, maybe you're struggling with health issues, and you just want like a new way to look at these problems that actually sees you as the more than human being that you are and really honors the depth of your experience so that you can work through some really deep stuff in actually a very fun and light and beautiful way that brings in a lot of love and great energy. I would love to chat. That's kind of what I do. Anyway, I'll leave a link down there somewhere and you can go reach out to me. And that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful existence. Bye. Okay, okay. It's over now.